Alright, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. And today, gonna be pretty exciting because we're gonna be looking at two really good players today. Of course, down in the bottom right-hand corner, let's go ahead and just introduce the guy that we all know and love. It is, of course, Liquid.TLO, and apparently right now he is being accused of being a hacker for some reason. I have no idea why, but he's apparently now, he's deflected the blame by officially saying that there are so many other fake TLOs out there that should there be one that misrepresented the name, the little one, then you know, it's not actually me. So this is of course the real official, the real TLO, and I'm very excited here to be casting a game of the little one in Heart of the Swarm because as I understand, he's been practicing really hard in Wings of Liberty, hasn't really had that time to transition into Heart of the Swarm, but as of late he has been playing HOTS a little bit more, you know, in anticipation of the game releasing in the next month. So very exciting here, and he is going to be the blue Zerg in the bottom right hand corner of the map. Now of course his opponent already has his probe inside of TLO's main base, and it is going to be a Protoss player by the name of Kyo, and I'm told he is a top 10 Grandmasters Protoss, and he has a very specific style of Protoss play that he really likes to employ, and that is the Sky Toss, which should be pretty interesting because I remember there was this thread on Team Liquid not too long ago where it was almost kind of like a troll post where people were trying to validate the possibility of playing Sky Toss, and this was in Wings of Liberty before Heart of the Storm had even come out. And you know, they kind of postulated the idea of, all right, yeah, we can go Mothership, we can go Phoenix, we can go Void Rays, and it's actually viable. What you do is you rush for the natural and you go right for a Mothership. Suffice to say, it didn't really work in Heart of the Swarm, in Wings of Liberty, but in Heart of the Swarm, apparently Kyo has figured out a way to make that work. So I'm very interested to see how his Sky Toss build is going to play out here, and if he will actually go for it against the little one. Of course, TLO, kind of the master when it comes to creativity and innovative strategies, so he will definitely have, I'm sure, some tricks prepared up his sleeve, and I'm very excited to see how this game is going to go down. So once again, it is a Protoss versus Zerg, and the map is Akelon Waste. Love this map. Typically ends up getting into pretty epic games, if you guys know what I mean. Usually they go for a pretty long time, and there's lots of expansions that you can play around with as well. As you can see, TLO is already opting to go for the expansion outside of the natural, and that is his third hatchery, so he will not be going for the hatchery in here. I've talked about this many times, so I'm not going to really repeat that anymore. But as far as Kyo goes, he is walling off the front door now with the Forge, the Gateway combination, and we'll probably be seeing the Cybernetics Core being placed right there, and there it goes. So there's one little Hex opening here that will be clogged up by a Zealot. Every Protoss player knows how to do this. It's like Tetris for them. They're like pro Tetris players. They definitely know how to, you know, get all the buildings in a place that makes sure that, you know, they can have a Zealot blocking in, and they're pretty good at doing that. So we have that wall coming up right now. TLO does have a few Zerglings on the map, and I'm very interested to see what kind of strategy the little one is going to have prepared here today for Heart of the Storm, because like I said before, he's a very good Wings of Liberty player. Probably the one that put StarCraft 2 on the map in terms of, you know, the very first games that would come out and become known worldwide. And I'm really interested to see what creative strategies he's got prepared here. Now obviously in Heart of the Storm we've got the Swarm Host, we've got the Viper. I think these are units that TLO, who's famously known for micro, will probably be able to employ, and you know, he'll probably be able to use those at a very high level. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to play out. We do have a Stargate that is about to finish up right here for Kyo in the back of the main base. Now remember, as I told you guys before, Kyo known for his quote-unquote Sky Toss builds, so I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. Will he go for the Oracle, or will he stay away from the Oracle and mess around mostly with Mothership Core, eventually leading into Mothership, obviously, and, you know, going for, you know, Phoenix and Void Rays and whatnot. Of course, the Void Rays now changed in Heart of the Swarm. You can see TLO trying to dart in here and find out what's going on, but he doesn't want to risk losing the Overlord. Usually, once you get past the pylon, it will die because there should be a Stalker or a Sentry there. And the one that's tucked inside the back of the main and the natural is not going to really be able to get much more vision. Although in the Stargate, it's actually producing Phoenix right now. And I like what Kyo's doing here. He's not revealing the Phoenix right away. And really, TLO has no idea what is being constructed in the back, in the confines of the Protoss base right now. The Zerg really, this is kind of a scary time for them because they don't exactly know what is coming out. And so for as far as TLO knows, things are getting kind of scary. One thing that he could do is run a Zergling up here and see, hey, you've only got one sentry there. Usually Protoss have a couple more sentries than that. So if he did that, he might be able to deduce exactly what's going on. I'm not too sure what they're talking about. SoEZ.Kyo. Apparently, okay, this Overlord apparently it was able to get out of there just in time before it died. You can see it had about 19 HP, which is obviously regenerating over time, so it probably got out of there with just one last shot remaining, but no matter, because these Phoenix are probably going to end up killing it. So Gosu or not, you know, Kyo's going to get the last laugh at the end of the day. Whoa, that's kind of cool. TLO here not even bothering to spread tumors from the natural down. He's just going to use the Overlord to poop and then spread it in that fashion, so kind of skipping the ramp creep spread, I suppose you could say. And one changeling being dropped out there, pooped out by the Overseer, and so TLO will get the scout in no matter what. He does see the Stargate in the back, but it's not like he didn't know already, because that Overlord over here did end up dying to the Phoenix, and these Phoenix are actually already all the way inside the main base for TLO, and they are going to be able to kill off one Queen. And will the little one be able to get enough Spore Crawlers up before he loses too many units? Now, interesting that Kyo is opting to snipe out Overlords. There we go, now he's going for the drones. And I was wondering why he was taking so long, because the longer he waits, the more Spore Crawlers will come up and he'll lose his opportunity to actually take out drones. And now he's gonna get that. Oh, wow, he gets the Overlord and he gets that Phoenix out of there with 6 HP intact. So apparently he learned a thing or two about dodging the last shot there with your airborne units from courtesy from TLO. So Gosu Phoenix right there. And now Kyo is gonna go ahead and pull out. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what kind of damage he did. As you guys can see, in terms of resources lost, amazingly, Kyo has not lost a single unit this entire game. If that Phoenix had died, this one right here, that would have been the very first unit that would have died this game for the Protoss player. So Kyo right now is actually doing a really good job of applying pressure and not taking really any losses at all. In fact, he is going to be able to kill off a couple of roaches at the front door, force fields them in, and locks them inside the force field wall as well. And now he looks like he wants to go ahead and push out and make something happen. So Kyo really applying pressure, not just from the air, but also from the ground. Looks like that Phoenix will eventually die. But the gateway basically is now open for this Protoss ground army to snipe out this hatchery. Now, of course, this isn't the third for TLO, this is actually the fourth, so he doesn't have any saturation here. He can actually afford to lose this. It's not a terrible loss. We should try to tuck these drones away so that they don't become casualties of war as well. And whoa, using a mothership recall there. I don't know if that was actually necessary. He probably could have just ran back if he wanted to, but ends up recalling his whole army back home. I guess he wants to be fancy schmancy there rather than just taking the old school way back home. Nobody really wants to ride the bus anyways. And we do have, what is going on here? It looks like he's killing off these rocks to go ahead and secure his third expansion, along with the line of photon cannons behind that as well. So Kyo really is sticking it to TLO right now. And if you look at the resources lost, it's still reflecting a heavy loss for the Zerg player. 2,275 minerals lost already, and Kyo's only lost 600 of his own. So things are not looking all that great for the little one, but when I look at the supply, you know, looking at the supply right here, the little one's still holding a slight supply lead. So he's, by no means is he out of this game. Even though he's taken some damage, his macro is kind of made up for it, and he's now going for a Roach Hydra composition. We do have muscular augments on the way from the Hydralisk Den, and so if he can get Hydra speed out, and I guess he's going to rely on a Hydra build against Protoss, which, by the way, guys, in Heart of the Swarm, it works. Just going a lot of Hydras does work. You might imagine, hey, Colossus and Templar kind of own that, but if you're really good about microing, which TLO is, you can dodge the storms, you can run away from the Colossus and stay at range. And so Hydras are a very, very good unit against Protoss in general now. So all-purpose unit it is, and it is going to be able to take out those Phoenixes. Kyo not happy about losing his Phoenix fleet, but at this point, really, they're not really a unit that he needs. Although then again, he is apparently a Skytoss player, so who knows? Maybe right now he does have some Void Rays, so I guess he's kind of upgraded from the Phoenix over to the next tier of air units, which is the Void Ray. And he is, of course, adding on some Colossus along with the extended Thermal Lance because he saw the Hydras. And you know, when I say Hydras, they're good against Protoss now. The counter to it is still the Colossus. It always has been, but with Hydras having speed now, you can kind of evade the Colossus. You can avoid getting stuck by force fields and whatnot. So it's not as crazy bad as it once was before, the Hydras versus the Colossus. But we'll see what happens here, as TLO is going to try to punch a hole into the third expansion. He does have 0-2 as his upgrades. The Protoss player, Kyo, having 0-1 for the ground, but he's got to be careful here because it's a two-pronged attack by TLO. Meanwhile, we do have Hallucinated Phoenix just kind of flying around the place, and we'll see what Kyo can do here because this is a lot of pressure here with so many Roaches and Hydras just ready to break down the front door. And you know, there are two front doors here that Kyo has to watch and be careful about. And one thing that is really not good for, you know, Protoss is you don't want to sit back here all day long because he needs to eventually go and get a fourth expansion of his own. It does look like TLO is going to try to run up the ramp just a little bit. One Infestor gets popped, and the Force Fields are going to cut a portion of the Zerg army away, and now look at the laser beam pew pew taking out those Roaches and Hydras. Absolutely devastating. And that's the one thing as Zerg, you don't want to run up the ramp. If you commit to running up the ramp, you can bet that army is going to get force fielded, and then they're just going to get lasered down with, you know, the Protoss don't take any prisoners at all. So TLO right there, kind of overextending a little bit. And now Kyo can probably go ahead and push out and secure another expansion should he choose to. I'm not too sure why this Nexus got the Photon Overcharge ability, but we do have some Zealots moving over to the 12 o'clock position, but they are going to get taken out, at least a few of them taken out by the Roaches and Hydras that were standing by. And let's take a look on that production tab right now, as Kyo does have Templars, Psionic Storm for the Templars coming and is about to finish. So not only will he have Colossus, but he'll also have Psionic Storm. And against Hydras, you know, the combination of both it is basically the only way that Protoss can stop Mass Hydra right now. But we do have Vipers coming out, so where Kyo has his tier 3 spellcasters, so does the little one. And like I said at the beginning of this cast, leave it to TLO to try out those new abilities and see how they synergize with the Zerg army. I'm very interested to see how he makes use of these Vipers. Now, against Protoss, Blinding Cloud not as effective as it is against Terran. I'm thinking here he's going to be using the Abduct against the Colossus and against the, maybe even against the Templar, trying to put them out of position and allowing his Hydras to take him down before his army gets stormed and lasered by the, you know, by all the Protoss units. So we'll see what happens here. As TLO he's actually split his army into two different locations, one to the south, one to the north, really looking like he wants to go in at some point here, and he's actually started to build spine crawlers to go over supply. This is a small trick that you see some Zerg players do, but it doesn't really matter now because he is going into fight and he's pulling in, as I thought, abducting the Colossus and the Void Rays, but the storms do come down and the feedback's ripping through the Infestors, and that army just got annihilated. Kyo made that look almost easy, and I thought TLO had the jump right there. I thought he had the ambush because, you know, he ran in there and he abducted so many units, but that did not bode so well, and you can see the units lost is still heavily favoring the Protoss player. And if we look at the income right now, just looking at some of these tabs, obviously that last fight didn't go the way that the little one expected it to. He has now dropped in supply to 150. And we do have a Warp Prism now coming around the bottom left-hand corner as the Zealots are going around the top right-hand side. And Kyo is smart, you know, he knows, alright, I just won a big fight. Now I'm going to try to poke and prod and do a little bit of harass tactics to keep the little one off balance. And this is great. He is actually going after 2 hatcheries at once. Now these Zealots are probably not going to be able to take out this hatchery. But what about the one down here? As the Zealots, you know, they got +1 weapons. And these 4 Zealots are going to be able to take this down. So the little one at the end of the battle not only loses his army, but he also loses a hatchery. Although this hatchery was actually, if you want to think of it as the map being divided down the horizontal, down the vertical line, this is actually Kyo's expansion. So Kyo may be kind of stopping the robbery that was occurring right there. But we do have some overlords loading up some units, or loaded up some units, and they are going to go for a potential drop here. Kyo's got to be careful. He does have a Tempest, a couple of Tempests on the way, it looks like. So really sticking true to his Sky Toss strategy. Ultralisks are on the map. And this game has the makings of what could be an absolutely epic battle. First of all, we're on Akalon Wastes. Second of all, we've got the little one. And third of all, it is now 22 minutes in, and we've got both players on 5 bases, tier 3, completely researched. They've got Ultras, they've got Tempests. We're just missing the mothership right now, really, in terms of the final evolution of this matchup. So we'll see if it does come out. Of course, the mothership not as good in Heart of the Swarm against Zerg, I think, as it was before, because it doesn't have the Vortex ability anymore. But we'll see if he decides to go for the cloak regardless, because that is what you get when you go to the mothership from the mothership core. And here comes the drop from TLO. He is going to drop his Hydra Zergling army into the main, at the same time pushing in through the front door, launching some great fungals right there on the Templar, and oh god, is he going to get the rest of the Templar down? It looks like he wasn't able to before the Templars were able to launch the storm, but these Ultras are just running through the army, and look at the abducting the Colossus right in range of the Ultras, so the Ultras can make short work of them. Meanwhile, it looks like the drop was actually killed off by a couple of Templars and a probe. I don't know how that happened, but Kyo was able to make a hold there inside the main base, which is absolutely critical, because losing your gateways right now would not be the situation that Kyo would, you know, want to be in. He needs his warp gates to be able to reinforce his army, and it looks like once again TLO runs headlong into a brick wall. And you know, every time he goes in, you think, hey, he should be able to win the fight here. You know, he's got a great rounded army, but he's unable to break through this. Really, it's weird. Kyo's not going for, you know, an all-out ground army or an all-out, like, a Colossus army. He's kind of got a mixture of every unit. Templar, Tempest, Void Ray, Colossus, Zealots, Archons. This is a very interesting composite. He's got everything, and he's really making it work quite well. But the little one is going in for yet another drop. He's got a lot of speedlings here this time, and oh yeah, this army is going to get absolutely eradicated. No chance for the paratrooping Zerg right there that time. But how about the ground army coming through the front again? This time actually going to go down to the south and try to take out the new Nexus, and they should be able to get that accomplished no problem. TLO sniffing out the new expansion. Very nice play right there, and that is definitely worth the cost of a few Zerglings and Overlords if you can take out this Nexus, and that was done almost all too easily. And here comes Kyo's combo army. I don't know really how else to say it. He's got everything except for the mothership, like I said before, so maybe he'll get it pretty soon. But he is coming in here with a ton of units. These Ultras and Hydras have got to hightail it out of there. Meanwhile, a Warp Prism is warping in a couple of Zealots over on the top right-hand side. The Warp Prism is going to go down to the Hydra list, but the Zealots have already come out, and this hatchery is under attack. Meanwhile, the Protoss army giving chase to the Ultras and Hydras, which were able to get back on creep, so they were able to get the speed boost and get the hell out of there. But will this hatchery go down? It looks like the Hydras are going to be able to save it. Hydra power for the win. Meanwhile, a couple of queens finding themselves totally out of position, and they pay for that with their lives. But look at these Templar getting ripped apart by the Ultralisk in the front. Great job to that Ultralisk right there. Those 2 kills solely being 2 Templars, which could have been, you know, the 2 Templars are like 4 Storms and a potential Archon. So that Ultralisk gotta be rewarded the MVP so far for going in there, being brave, and taking out those 2 Templar. Absolutely excellent job right there. But Kyo's Zealots here continuing to wail away at this hatchery, and this time the hatchery is going to go down without any queen support here, able to drop a transfuse. there it goes. So the little one taking another hatchery loss, and the Warp Prism is still flying around here. It does have Warp Prism speed, so it is speedy as all hell. It is inside the main now, right next to the Ultralisk Cavern, and losing this right now would not be a prime situation at all for TLO. He cannot afford to lose the Ultra Cavern nor any of his hive critical structures, so he's got to get back there and defend. Meanwhile, it looks like TLO is going to go in for a main attack. He gets feedbacked on one of his infestors, and a great storm comes down to push the Hydralisks away as well. Now remember, as I said before, Hydras with speed are not as susceptible as they were before against Protoss, but you've got to be really good about microing your Hydras away from those dangerous situations like the storm, like the Colossus, and so far TLO's done a pretty good job about that. He hasn't stayed under the storm for a prolonged period of time, which has allowed his Hydralisk army to really stay alive. He's got about 25 Hydras right now, so he is certainly in contention with this game. If you look at the top right hand corner or their supplies, you can see very close minerals and gas, pretty close as well. In fact, if anything, TLO might be winning slightly in that department, so it's a very close game right now, and it's hard to say one way or another who is ahead. It looks like the action has kind of subsided just for a second right now, as both players take a second to catch their breath and figure out where they stand in this game. If we look at the total number of bases, the Zerg player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hatcheries right now, and so it's almost like every time the little one, you know, he's lost a hatchery here, he's lost one there, but he's never took serious critical losses. He's always been able to kind of recover, and you can see the workers killed this game, neither side losing all that many workers. So you know, kudos to both of them because they've done an excellent job protecting their economy. More so, I think, TLO, who's been able to hide his drones, even though there's been warp prisms flying around all over the place. But here comes a drop from actually both players, so that worker kill count might go up here in the next couple of seconds. It looks like TLO's Infestor actually realizes that there is a warp prism there. He's gonna, great play, good awareness by the little one, and he will take out that warp prism, so no counter drop from the Protoss player, as TLO says, "Haha, I've got the drop for you." But there is a couple of forces here. He has to be careful. He's actually gonna morph a couple of the overlords into overseers, which is kind of interesting because now that means not all the troops cannot escape anymore. I don't know why he did that, but it looks like he's going to load up the rest and he's going to drop him over the Colossus. Beautiful play. And the reason why you do that is because Colossus cannot attack air units, obviously, so if you load him up, you fly him into the Colossus, and then you drop him down, the Colossus really have no chance, and now the Warp Gate infrastructure is under attack. There is a Tempest here. Not going to be able to do much against Hydralis, unfortunately, and TLO now starting to really flex his muscles, showing why he's considered to be one of the best Zerg players outside of Korea. He is going to be able to apply pressure on the Nexus down here as well. A combination of fungal growth and Hydras taking out Kyo's air units, and the Tempest, the one remaining one, should be able to fall back. Meanwhile, Templars and Void Rays coming back home to save what remains of the Warp Gates in the main base. And it looks like it was able to push the Zerg army away, but this Nexus is taking critical hits, and Kyo is gonna lose an expansion after all is said and done. I think definitely the little one coming out ahead because he was able to kill off the Nexus, but he's got to be wary about a counterattack right now. He knows that he invested a heavy amount of army in order to get that accomplished, so he's got to be careful about this Protoss army, which is preparing to attack this hatchery right here. Unfortunately, it looks like TLO's army is located all the way down south, so Kyo has an opportunity right now to kind of go eye for an eye, get a little bit of revenge, but he's got to be quick about it. The longer he takes, I think the window of opportunity will close for him, and it looks like TLO just says, screw it, I'm going to go for an attack on the ground and take out another Nexus. So really, TLO is just applying pressure from all sorts of different angles, and it looks like Kyo's not paying attention, gonna lose some of his Templar right there as he was pulling his army back, gets vaporized by the Hydras, and the little one just confirming that the Nexus was not re-established. Beautiful job from him. Uh-oh, gotta be careful though, as there's just so many Void Rays, and there's a Colossus there as well. Those Ultras are not very healthy, and on the way out, it looks like both of them and the Hydras are gonna go down. So at least Kyo gets a little bit of revenge, just a spot of revenge there for losing his Nexus. He needs to quickly reestablish that because he cannot afford to lose that income war against a Zerg player, because right now he's down essentially 2 bases He needs to get those extra, the base right here and the base right here established, and he's got to watch his backside because the little one has just been so persistent with these crackling drops time after time and time again. And eventually this is going to break the back of the Protoss player because he just cannot split his attention enough to deal with the Zergling drops and the run-bys that are occurring right here. The little one's just all over the place, but it looks like Kyo has a response for this. He will be able to save this Nexus. But what about the main base? It looks like the Twilight Council has dropped. Stargate in the back is taking some serious damage as well. And it looks like, yeah, the Nexus was saved through a combination of the recall and the force fields, but the main has just been ripped apart by the constant dropping of TLO. He's come in and brought these Zerglings inside, crack upgraded, that is the adrenal glands, and they are just taking out these structures oh so quickly. What is Kyo's final response here? I really feel like he's starting to lose momentum in this game. It's 166 supply, under 200, and the units he has on the field, it's actually really sparse. If you look at it right now, he's only got 2 Immortals, 2 Tempests, a Colossus, and the bulk of his army is 11 Void Rays. And I know I've said this time, a couple of times already in this cast. He loves the Sky Toss build. But at this moment in time, it seems like the Sky Toss army is not working out too well against the Hydralisk army being fielded by the little one, because Hydras are great against air units. With their new speed, they are even better. And really, the little one is just rolling with the Hydras, and he hasn't really encountered much of a problem so far. But now Kyo is going to switch it up a little bit, and it looks like he's going to go for Dark Templar. When in doubt, Dark Templar your way out. That's how Protoss do it. And if he can get these Dark Templars to take out this hatchery, he could get right back into this game. And it looks like that is exactly what's going to happen. There is no Overseer nearby, so that hatchery is going to fall kaput. And now Kyo actually needs to send these DTs all on their own separate mission, but it looks like he was a little too late there, and he will get fungled, which ends up revealing the DTs, allowing them to be taken out by the Hydralisks. Wow, this is an insane game. And right now, Kyo doesn't have a main base. The main base is no longer there. He's officially relocated the main to, I think this would be his new main base down here in the bottom left-hand corner. So it's kind of an interesting situation where he doesn't really need this area back here because there's no resources, there's no natural resources that he needs to mine. But one thing he should do, there we go, that's so smart. I was gonna say he should build something back here so he can see about impending possible drops. And what does he do? So smart. He puts 3 Dark Templars there, like an invisible wall, and that is gonna basically prevent any units from being able to run back and attacking the backside of the Protoss area, but Protoss natural and the remaining bases. So that's so smart. Meanwhile, it looks like TLO is gonna go for an engagement here, gets a bunch of great abducts and yanks the Void Rays in, but in turn it looks like Kyo's gonna drop some great Psionic Storms, forcing TLO to pull away. In the meantime, it looks like the Hydras cannot get through the wall, and it looks like those Dark Templar are just ripping the Hydras to shreds. And really smart play by the Protoss player, but TLO is making an Overseer right now, so pretty soon he'll be able to see that Dark Templar wall and take them out as he drops the Hydras, and he's actually gonna plant a Nidus Worm. How smart is that? Now the little one is going to have multiple avenues to attack Kyo with, and usually Protoss pride themselves on being able to kind of vent off Zerg attacks into one avenue. But in this situation now, Kyo's not only going to have to protect this area over here, but he's going to have to protect the backside of his own base, and that is never a good situation. It looks like the Cybernetics cores could go down here, but most of the Protoss army has pulled back and will be able to save the natural expansion. Meanwhile, it looks like TLO also pulls back, doesn't really want to mess with that expansion right now. And we even have a carrier on the field. We have multiple carriers on the field. Wow, Kyo really is going for the full-on Sky Toss build. What the heck is going on? He's actually going to recall his whole army away and brings him back over to the bottom left expansion. Like I said before, the final unit he needs is the mothership. He hasn't decided to warp it out quite yet, and I'm a little curious as to why he brought his whole army down to the bottom left. It looks like he wants to go for an attack. That's the reason why. Meanwhile, the Dark Templar that was over here was picked off, it looks like, by by an Infestor Fungal. And those Niduses up here are allowing TLO once again to make these backstab strikes, and nothing that Kyo can really do about it, which is really kind of sad. What is he gonna do about the little one and his constant aggression? It's just keeping the Protoss so much on the back foot. Now, if we look at once again at the supplies, things are almost identical, which was quite amazing. It's 195 supply to 191, both players banking about the same minerals and gas. So the game is incredibly close right now. And like I said, it's hard to sway one way or another as to who is winning at this moment in time. But I've got to say, Kyo needs another expansion. He needs to claim the final one. You can't just, you can't win a game if you don't claim what is rightfully yours. And this expansion is rightfully Kyo's. And so he is going to go ahead and send that probe down there to make a nexus. Look at this Sky Protoss army that we've got going on here for Kyo. 333 across the board, plating, shields, and weapons. That's pretty crazy. And what about the Zerg army? What are the upgrades looking like for the Zerg army? TLO's got 333 across the board. The only thing he doesn't have is air upgrades, but he doesn't really need the aerial upgrades when he's not going for any air-based units. So insane game right now. Mostly a Hydro composition by the little one, who's once again looks like he wants to go for an attack. And it's almost come to the point in this game where things have kind of stalemated a little bit. It's like both armies are so vast and large. That's going to be nice. You can pick off the Templar Archives. But both armies are so large, it's like neither side wants to commit to an attack. They'd rather just play safe rather than sorry, and both of them know at any moment in time they can just obliterate each other. But the little one actually is still finding these little weaknesses, these little chinks in the armor, where he's able to send small squads to go ahead and go for the attack and take out little chunks of the Protoss infrastructure. And he's going to do just that. He picks off the robotics facility, might be able to pick off the cybernetics cores as well. And the beauty of TLO's attacks here is it's an attack also designed to be a defensive maneuver, because these attacks force Kyo to constantly pull back rather than move in and go for the killing strike against the little one. Because this army is so large from the Protoss player, I feel like if he moved out there, he could do a lot of damage. But he cannot move out because of all the constant attacks that the little one is doing. These Niduses, these drops, the backstabs, they're just proving to be so annoying. And I mean, that's what TLO does best. So it's really kind of cool to watch. I did just see a bunch of larvae being made into Zerglings, but it looks like it was canceled. He's got about 25 larvae right now. The one problem for Kyo, obviously, is he needs cybernetics cores, he needs robotics facilities to build more units, and here we go. It looks like the little one is going to go for a big-time attack here with everything he's got. He's placed the Protoss army out of position, but hey, that's okay. You can teleport back home to protect the base. Meanwhile, back inside the natural, some Hydras are there, but it doesn't really matter. This is the main battle, and a couple of storms going down, ripping the Hydra carcasses to shreds. And yeah, that's right, killing them when they're alive and killing them when they're dead. And now the little one in full retreat. Like I said before, he really cannot fight this army head on. That's the problem. I feel like the only way the little one can win this game, since his army is obviously far more fragile than the Protoss, is to constantly go for these little sneaky backside attacks. He can't fight this army head on. He just doesn't have the right units to do it. Hydras, as fast as they are, as good as they are now, they're still really, really squishy. That's the biggest problem. And what is this Protoss army doing? Recalled back home to save the Nexus once again. These cracklings are on a mission, and it looks like now they're just going to go ahead and join their Hydra brothers that have been eating away slowly but surely at the warp gate infrastructure. And right now there is actually not much warp gates remaining left for Kyo. He's gonna have a very hard time rebuilding his ground army. He's basically fully right now relying on Stargate technology in order to reinforce his army. In fact, at this moment in time, he's not building a single thing at all. He's just trying to make a bunch of photon cannons and rebuild his infrastructure. So of course, he is maxed out right now. He's actually oversupply right now, so that obviously is one of the reasons why he can't build a damn thing. But yeah, the infrastructure for the Protoss player desperately trying to be rebuilt right now from Kyo. But I feel like Kyo has been on the defense this entire game. I mean, look at his bases. They've been split apart. The only reason why this base is still alive is because of the grid of photon cannons that are keeping it safe. And honestly, I mean, the little one could run in here and kill this off, but I would almost argue, is it even worth it? Is it worth going in and taking out this section when you could lose so many forces due to the photon cannons? It's not like there's any critical structures here, maybe the fleet beacon. But besides that, I don't even think TLO cares about that expansion at this moment in time. He just wants to try to end the game by eventually breaking down this base and this base. These are the two remaining bases, but that is a massive grid of photon cannons at both. So he is going to be hard-pressed to do that, especially when there is a massive Sky Carrier Tempest army just waiting for the Zerg to move in. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have this stalemate, and I don't know how it's going to be broken. Eventually it will be, obviously, but who's going to make the first move? Who's going to flinch? Who's going to make the mistake? That is exactly what TLO needs to do. Yank them in and take them out with his Hydralisk. Beautiful play, although he is going to take a little bit of damage there on the way out, losing a Viper or two. But that's very, very smart. If he can pull them in and slowly whittle down the Protoss army, then that's great, because he knows that Kyo obviously can't rebuild as easily as a Zerg can. So that's really, really good to be able to go in there and snipe out a couple of those capital airships. Wow, 50-minute game. I am really kind of in utter shock right now that this has gone on for so long as it has. Just showing you guys some of these crazy tabs right now that are popping up. It's really been kind of an interesting affair, but still no end in sight. 50 minutes long. Usually in most 50-minute games, you know who's gonna win, and you know who's gonna lose. I don't know who's gonna win. I don't know who's gonna lose. Although I will make a case for the little one and say, in this game, he has not really lost any of his critical infrastructure. Yeah, he's lost a hatchery or two, but he hasn't lost any of his critical infrastructure, whereas Kyo has lost critical amounts of infrastructure. But at the end of the day, both armies are maxed out. Both have good amounts of bank. In fact, if anything, the little one has a smaller bank than Kyo does because he just invested so many into spines and spores. So it's, I don't know, man. I really have no idea. We do have some Dark Templar trying to go up here and snipe out another hatchery. Doubtful that's going to happen, though. With the Zerg army, should be able to pull back pretty quickly. I'm surprised there's not a spore here or so. But there comes the Overseers, and most of the Zerg army has returned, but the hatchery is going to fall. And that's going to hurt TLO because he could have used the gas intake. Hey, look at this. Kyo says, all right, I've got an opening to go ahead and move out here. One thing I'd love to see Kyo do is throw away some of his probes. He doesn't need this many workers right now. Although he's not maxed out yet, but Kyo there for a moment thinking about moving out, it looked like, to try to take out a, I don't know what though. The thing is, where can he go to? He can move out. There's no point in killing off this hatchery. There's nothing to mine there. Or he can move into a grid of spores, infestors, and hydras. I don't think he really wants to do that either. So it's it really is a stalemate right now. It's crazy. And how is this gonna end? How is it gonna conclude? We'll just have to wait and see. 32 Zerglings on the way here from the little one. I'm surprised that TLO hasn't even tried to mess around with tier 3 Broodlords. I guess Broodlords wouldn't really make that much sense because of the Skytoss armies, so never mind. But you know, the Hydra, Viper, Infestor army, so far it's not really getting the job done against this Sky, aerial fleet from Kyo. And I think the little one right now is asking himself, how do I beat this army? I've tried everything under the Zerg arsenal except for Mutalisks, and I think what the last crutch here is his Spore Crawlers. He's gonna say now, all right, I can't beat this army with Hydras, Infestors. I'm just gonna have to rely on Spores, and I guess the one thing he hasn't tried yet is a bunch of Corruptors. Corruptors would probably help a lot. But the problem is he's basically out of money. He can't make any Corruptors. He's got to save his money for reinforcements of Hydras and stuff because he's worked on those upgrades on the ground. And here comes a big attack here. Time Warp coming down. tons of interceptors shooting out, a few abducts bringing the army closer in, and the storm, oh my god, that storm is absolutely bone-crushingly deadly, and the little one just lost almost all of his Hydras, but the Zerglings here are going to try to take out the Archons, and that they do, but the little one just got absolutely crippled by that Psionic Storm. He wasn't dodging the Psionic Storm, I don't know why, and as a result now it looks like the carrier fleet is going to be able to pound through the Spore Crawler wall, and all of a sudden, Kyo, the world is yours. How are you going to take it? The little one is now desperately trying to figure out if he can even win this game, and I don't know if he can. I think that last battle was the final deciding factor, and what an epic final battle it was, because Kyo basically said, alright, click Storm, and the little one said, okay, I stay under Storm. I don't think he was paying attention. He was paying attention, I'm sure, but I think there was just so many things going on in that fight with the abducts, with the fungal growths, that I think I saw a couple of fungals, and I don't know what else he was trying to do, but I think he just critically misplayed those Hydras that were underneath the Psionic Storm, because had he been able, what the heck is this, changelings coming out? The little one really running out of ideas right now, but as I said before, I think the little one made a critical mistake right there, not moving the Hydras away from the storm, and now he's down to only 96 supply, so it is situation critical right now for the little one. Yeah, I don't know if he can actually win the game at this point. I feel like if Kyo just moves out right now, he could probably win the game. How many carriers does he have? Let's go ahead and take a look. He's got 6 carriers, 9 Templar, 10 Void Rays, 3 Archons, and 3 Tempests. So, yeah, I don't actually think the little one has any chance anymore. Once he lost the Spore Crawler wall, that was about it, but TLO isn't one to surrender just yet. I think he's just gonna wait, and you know, when he realizes that, hey, it is actually over, then he will probably call GG. Here we go, nice, actually not a very good dodge right there from the Hydralisks, and they are just gonna get absolutely molesterated by the Psionic Storm. So the little one loses to SoEZ.Kyo. A really good game right there. That was a 58-minute game between two very talented Protoss and Zerg players. Beautiful matchup there, and I guess the end result is carriers are good, man. They are damn good. Don't forget about the carriers. And I don't know if you guys ever realized this, but throughout this entire game, Kyo was using the Void Rays really well as well. Every time he went into fight, he had to activate prismatic alignment and whatnot, which obviously only helps against armored units, but nevertheless, still kind of a handy thing to have. But great control, great micro. I just want to go ahead and show you guys that critical battle one more time, because I thought that was kind of the game, to be honest with you guys. And let's just go ahead and fast forward up until that point. I think it was at like 56 minutes, 54 minutes or something like that. But anyways, just want to go ahead and take this time and say, if you guys have any great replays or anything like that, high-level players playing Heart of the Storm, feel free to have them send them in to me at HDreplays@gmail.com. And feel free to subscribe to me at youtube.com/HDStarcraft. Now here we go. This is the big battle. Time Warp. Not really the most useful Time Warp, I guess. But the fungal growth was pretty good from the little one. But this is where he made the mistake. He clumped all of his Hydras up, and oh my god. Wow. I mean, I think this right here says it all, right, guys? That is... May the site forever be remembered as the Hydralisk Graveyard. Alright, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is a great cast and a great game. The little one versus Kyo, ladies and gentlemen. And for now, this is HD StarCraft, signing out.